So you've been through a lot of all-star breaks during your time being with the Los Angeles Lakers. What's a typical all-star break look like for one Mr. John Ireland?
Well, today I'm in Idaho. My wife, her family's from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, so we come up here every summer. I've never been up here in the winter, but a few years ago we built a place up here, so I wanted to see what life would be like in the winter up here. And it's like a Hallmark movie, RJ. There's snow everywhere. There's trees. I didn't realize that I was going to need to learn how to drive in the snow. So I've spent the majority. I know in Jacksonville you guys don't get a lot of that,
right.
But I've spent the majority of this weekend learning how to drive in the snow. And so far, so good. I haven't injured anyone, especially me. So that's a good thing.
I know that Corporate Greg as well as Mason asked you, when you were in Utah, did you do any skiing or snowboarding? Did you do any of that in Idaho?
No, I thought about going snowmobiling yesterday, but then it was a choice of that, RJ, or eating a bunch of spaghetti and watching the Saturday Night Live show. So I decided to do that. It just seemed like it was safer. So that all kind of worked out.
Absolutely. Continuing our conversation with John Ireland. He is the radio play-by-play voice of the LA Lakers. So kind of got to get to the meat of it all. I mean, without question, one of the more heart-stopping trades in NBA history, as now Luka Doncic is a part of the purple and gold. John, for you, has it set in yet for guys like you, Mason, Michael Thompson, and the rest of the crew that Luka's a Laker? And if you could you just take us behind the curtain of what that first night was like in the building for his debut?
Well, I'll even take it back earlier than that. They traded for Luka about an hour after they beat the Knicks in New York City.
Right.
So all of us were on the bus. We're heading back to the hotel. We weren't flying home until the next day. And word started to leak through that they had traded AD for Luka. And RJ, at the time when I heard it, I was absolutely convinced the report was false.
Yes.
On both fronts. I thought the Mavericks would never trade Luka. I thought the Lakers would never trade AD. And to trade them for each other is the strangest trade deadline of my lifetime.
Yes.
And, prior to that, Pau Gasol was probably the biggest impact trade the Lakers made in season. But this, exchanging two top 10 players for each other, especially Luka, who's 25.
Right.
And is a five-time first-team All-NBA guy. I mean, still doesn't make sense to me. I'm not sure what Dallas knows or thinks they know that the rest of the world doesn't. But, RJ, this was a heart-stopper. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody knew. I'm not even sure until it was done that LeBron knew.
Okay.
And so we were all just kind of reacting to it in real time, thinking that, okay, something's got to happen here. This has got to be false.
Right.
Somebody's pulling our leg, and it just turned out the more it went on that it wasn't false. It was true. And it's the most stunning trade of my career. I started in the NBA in 1998. So I've been at this for 27 years.
Right.
And I've never seen anything like it. A top three player in the world traded at age 25 without, in my opinion, any reason to do it. I don't understand what Dallas is thinking, but I've known Nico Harrison, their GM, for a long time. He's a smart guy. Maybe he does know something we don't. But if you're a Laker fan, it was Christmas 2 months after Christmas. It was crazy.
Absolutely. Now, I heard James Worthy during the pregame show for Luka's debut. He said that the vibe inside Crypto.com arena it felt different. It felt almost as if it was the NBA playoffs or the NBA finals in LA. Did you kind of have that feeling? Did the vibe feel different coming into work when Luka made his debut for the Lakers against the Utah Jazz?
No question. And RJ, I always say that nobody does big events like the Lakers.
Oh, right.
Whenever they need to retire a number or they need to honor somebody or somebody makes their debut, and they hit it out of the park again on this one. When you walked into the arena, there was a 77 Luka shirt over every seat. So when he walked into the building, there were 18,000 people wearing 77 shirts, and it was almost like a celebration. And he's not quite in basketball shape yet. He only played 24 minutes, but every once in a while he would make a pass or make a move where you could see what's coming down the road. And I think it's going to be spectacular. The question is, can the Lakers figure out what to do about size? They traded a lot of size when they got rid of AD. We're not very big right now. And can Luka and LeBron kind of adjust on the fly? And if those two things happen, the Lakers could make a run here.
Continue our conversation with the radio play-by-play voice of the L.A. Lakers, John Ireland, joining us here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. You mentioned LeBron James. It's absolutely incredible what he's doing in year 22 for the LA Lakers. And it also seems to me that he's gotten a big jolt of energy with Luka Doncic now on the team. But it was interesting to me that Victor Wembanyama, there's a video that's going around that he says that LeBron James has kind of been looked at as underrated now across NBA circles, at least in his opinion. You see what he does night after night. Do you think Wemby has any sort of a point that a guy that's still dominating the way he is in year 22 has now become underrated?
Well, no one's ever done it, RJ, at his age. I mean, nobody at age 40 has ever put up numbers like this. As a matter of fact, if you put together everybody who's ever played at the age of 40 and added up all their numbers, you still don't get to LeBron. I mean, guys like Vince Carter and Kevin Willis, and they were just, collecting checks on the way out. LeBron's the best player on our team, and he's 40. He's the oldest player in the league. So I see what Wembanyama is saying. I don't understand people that aren't enjoying the LeBron ride. Frankly, RJ, I don't understand the Bronny hate. A lot of people are taking stuff out on Bronny, who is, 19 years old, 20 years old now, just trying to get a start on what he's doing. So I consider myself lucky that I have kind of a front row seat to watch LeBron do this every night, but he's the most underrated passer I think I've ever seen. He's, of course, the NBA's all-time leading scorer. And when he wants to, he can still play defense, and he's a great rebounder. So he really doesn't have a weakness.
Now, a couple more for you before I get you out of here. And again, thank you so much for giving us a couple moments of your time. But I was listening to you guys on Mason and Ireland not too long ago, and you brought up a great point when it came to the LA Lakers about 3 weeks ago when they played the Knicks. If anybody would have told you that the Lakers at that point were going to have one of the best records in the NBA, and defensively they would be one of the top teams in the NBA without Anthony Davis, I'm like you. I don't know if I would have believed it. Yet here they are. Do you think that this can bleed in to the second half of the year for the LA Lakers to continue being that dominant defensive team that we've seen in recent weeks?
Well, it'll be interesting because Max Christie was our best on-ball defender, and he went in the Luka trade, and Anthony Davis was our best defender, period. And he went in the trade. So the Lakers are going to have to reinvent their defense. But you're right. Up until that point, they had a 6-game win streak probably a week and a half ago, and they were the number one defensive team in the NBA during those 6 games, which if you would have told me that before the season, I would have said you're crazy. They're just not that good defensively. But they've figured some things out. They've done a really good job of taking the other team's best player away. When we were in New York, they did it to Karl Anthony Towns. Then we went to the Intuit Dome, and they did it to James Harden. And, they continue to Pascal Siakam couldn't get anything going against them. So JJ Reddick and Nate McMillan and Scott Brooks and that whole coaching staff has turned up the defense. The question is, RJ, can they continue to do it now that they don't have Max Christie and don't have AD? That's probably the number one question moving post-All-Star break is what are the Lakers going to be like on defense? Offensively, they're going to be awesome. I mean, when you have Luka and LeBron and those two creating for other people, I think they're going to score 130, 140 points a night. The question is, are they going to give up 145? We need to see what the defense looks like. They're undersized. As I mentioned, their 2 best defenders a month ago are no longer here, so they're going to have to reinvent the wheel again. But they've found something over the last 2 to 3 weeks, scheme-wise, that has made them a much better defensive team. And the question is, can they keep it going? I'm getting ready to fly back to LA tomorrow. We we've got a back-to-back coming up with Charlotte Wednesday and then at Portland on Thursday.
Right.
Lakers will be favored in both those games, but can they defend? Since Luka got here, they've played 2 games. The first game, they look great. Second game, not so much. So we'll see what happens on Wednesday.
Final couple of moments with the radio play-by-play voice for your Los Angeles Lakers, John Ireland. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at LA Ireland. You brought up JJ Reddick. I just want to know from you your assessment of the job JJ Reddick has done so far.
He's been great and surprisingly good for a rookie head coach. I think one thing I've noticed about JJ is he's a confident guy. He's not lacking, in presentation or selling points or any of that stuff. He's good at this naturally.
Right.
But he also was smart enough in the beginning to say, I've never been a head coach, so I'm going to surround myself with people that have been through this. So the first 2 hires they made were Nate McMillan and Scott Brooks, 2 guys that, 2 former NBA coaches of the year that have been there, and he leans on them a lot. So I've been really impressed with JJ. I think that if it wasn't for the insane job that Kenny Atkinson's doing in Cleveland, that JJ would get some Coach of the Year votes. But Kenny should win it. He's been great there. He's turned that whole team around. Mark Daigneault won it last year in OKC. So I think Kenny Atkinson's the Coach of the Year. But I think JJ's going to finish top 5, and he's been really good.
Final question for you, because I do want to ask you just one more question when it comes to the great Kobe Bryant. But want to bring up Dalton Knecht. Just in your opinion, how integral of a part is he going to be for the LA Lakers in the second half of the year? I mean, I understand fully he's still trying to figure out and digest the fact that he was traded. The trade was rescinded. He was brought back. Once he gets over that hill, however, do you think that he's going to be a very important piece for the LA Lakers in the second half?
He could be. He's an unbelievable shooter. He's already had a game this year where he made 9 threes. He's got to work on his defense.
Yeah.
He's got to work a little bit on, when he was at Tennessee, RJ, he was the best player on the team, and he had a green light to shoot whenever he wanted.
Right.
Here, they want him to shoot, but he's on a court with now Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. So I think sometimes he's a little hesitant. They've told him, and I think this is smart, we're going to take you out if you don't shoot. We want you to shoot.
Okay.
So especially LeBron. LeBron's really encouraging him to shoot. So he absolutely can be a weapon for the Lakers. And I wouldn't worry about the trade thing. It happened so fast that even though he got traded and he hopped on a plane to Charlotte and then turned around, he described it as like being in a movie. And, it was quick.
Right.
And he was right back with the Lakers. And the Lakers are still the only NBA team he's ever played for. I don't think the trade's going to have a hangover, but he's got to defend better, and he's got to shoot when he's open. He's done a better job of that. I'm very high on him.
Yeah.
I think the Lakers stole him with the 17th pick.
Absolutely.
And so I think he can be a key contributor. And one thing, RJ, is that when you have Luka and LeBron on the same team, you have to double those guys, both of them, which means guys like Austin and Rui and Gabe Vincent and Dalton Knecht and Jared Vanderbilt are all going to be open. And so if they can make open shots, they have a real chance to make an impact. Let's see if they can do it.
Before we let you go, Mr. Ireland, you got to give me another Kobe story. I was sitting down almost crisscross applesauce when you gave me the Larry Drew story, and then you also told an incredible story about Mike Trudell beating Kobe in a game of ping pong. Do you have another Kobe story for us, the listeners here in Jacksonville, before we get you out of here?
Well, I think that, did I tell you the 17 beer story in Houston?
No, I'm sitting down.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so we're playing a playoff series one year in Houston.
Okay.
And we're playing a Sunday day game, and it's game 3 of a best of 5. And so we arranged for our plane to bring us home on Monday night after the game, thinking that we weren't going to necessarily sweep them.
Okay.
So we win the first 2 games at LA. We go down to Houston, and we win game 3 and end the series on a Sunday day game. But we don't have a plane to take us home because we didn't think we were going to sweep them. We thought they would probably win a game, and so we weren't able to fly home until Monday. So I have to stay at the arena. I have to stay at the Toyota Center after the game, and I'm doing live shots back to KCAL. And I walk in, I don't know, it was maybe 5, 6 o'clock. And I walk into the bar, and Kobe motions to me. The whole team's in the bar, the players, the traveling staff, the coaches, because we basically had a free night, and the series was over. So I walk over to Kobe. He calls me over. He goes, "Hey, John, you want a beer?" And I said, "Kobe, you don't need to buy me a beer."
Right.
And he kind of smirks, and he points down. And I look down, RJ, and there are 17, I counted them, 17 open but full beers at his feet. And he's standing up against the wall in the corner. And I go, why do you have 17 beers? Right. And before I could even finish the thought, some guy walks up to him, some fan, and said, "Kobe, you're my favorite player. I always wanted to buy you a beer. Here you go," and hands him number 18. And Kobe smiles, says thank you, and puts it down. He goes, "I'm not buying you a beer. I'm giving you one. And tell the rest of the TV crew to get over here because there's no way I can drink all of these." And I thought to myself, that's his life.
Yeah.
People just walking up to him unannounced and giving him stuff.
Wow.
I'll tell you one more quick one. One time I was in Minnesota, and I see a girl. We're walking through a mall. It's so cold there that if you want to get any exercise, you got to go walk through the mall.
Right.
So I'm walking, just getting exercise, and Kobe's walking with one of our security guys doing the same thing. He just wanted to get out of his room and stretch his legs.
Right.
And some girl, a big girl, RJ, from behind the counter at one of the stores goes, "Oh, my God, it's Kobe Bryant." And she runs out of the store. It's like a Sephora. She runs out of the store and trips head first and falls flat on her face, and her face is blood. I'm afraid her nose is broken. There's blood coming out of her nose. It's all over the place. And Kobe and the security guy walk up to her and go, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "I am now. I got to get a picture with you." So he goes, "Well, since you're bleeding to death, I think you should take care of your face first. But if you want a picture, I'll do it." She takes a picture. So somewhere in Minnesota, there is a girl with a picture of her with a giant smile on her face, which is completely bloodied, standing next to Kobe because he provoked that type of response in people. And I'm sure that girl, Kobe made her day just taking the picture.
Right.
But, man, I've never seen a girl take a header like that and pop right up and be so happy.
Oh, my God.
I thought that she'd be embarrassed or sad or hurt. None of the above. She was just ecstatic that Kobe stopped to take a picture with her. He was a global star.
Oh, man.
And by the way, to bring this conversation full circle, that's Luka. I've only been on one trip with Luka, and people are coming out of the woodwork to talk to him. So with Luka and LeBron, we're gonna have a very fun travel party from now until the Lakers are done, which hopefully will be in June.
Absolutely. Kobe Bryant forever will be missed by us Laker fans and the NBA community at large. And I am finished being a little kid sitting in the living room listening again to one John Ireland. John, thank you so much. Hopefully we can do this again sometime down the line. I promise not to bother you too much, but thank you so much again for coming on the program.
My pleasure, RJ. Have a great show.
There he goes, John Ireland.